DJ PK, and we're joined once again by Shehan Jeyarajah, CBS Sports national college football writer. Shehan, good morning.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Are you outraged by the way this has worked out, or are you thinking, man, the college football committee just handed me like 20 stories. Everybody's going to click on all this stuff. This is awesome.
Well, first of all, I don't get paid by the click, so trust me, I don't want to write about all this boring stuff, to be honest. So, no, I mean, look, I think that the way that it was handled by the committee was ridiculous. I think that when you look at Notre Dame being 2 spots ahead of Miami heading into that final week of the conference championships, and then be flipped when absolutely nothing has changed, I think that that's absurd. And you know, they can make the case that, well, we just didn't think that they were comparable until they were right next to each other. Look, that's not how any of this works. There are multiple teams that could be in similar tiers, that could be comparable, that don't necessarily have to be right next to each other in the rankings. Now, I said it on social media, too. I think that Miami should have been ahead of Notre Dame in the first place, but the idea that it changed because BYU lost their conference championship game and was punished when, by the way, Alabama was not punished for losing their game. Again, just the whole way that it was handled to me was just absolutely insane. I think that this was by far the worst communication of any committee that we've ever had. I think that honestly, like, it's going to be very hard to make the pitch that we should continue to have these weekly rankings heading forward, which obviously I think is sort of an existential thing for the committee. But I mean, the reality is this, is that I think that it comes down to a question of almost integrity at a certain point. Did they just kind of manipulate this stuff so that they could create an entertainment product? If people start believing that, I think that a lot of this becomes at risk.
Do you think that the Big Ten's push to have, instead of one conference title game, have 3 play-in games essentially, 1 play 2 for the conference title, and 3 play 6, and 4 play 5 for 2 other berths, and they get 4 automatic berths? That feels more NFL-ish. It takes the committee out of it. It does solve the issue of these 4 and 5 team tiebreakers that we've seen in the ACC this year and the Big 12 last year. Do you think that'll happen now and we'll go to 16 or maybe even 24 teams and they'll just move the bag back again?
I think that we're very likely to go to 16 teams. I mean, for me, I really cannot get behind the idea of kind of those, sort of the play-in type game for a couple of reasons. I mean, one, I think that look at this year, actually, as a great example, right? There are 3 incredibly high-quality Big Ten teams, and that's about it. You know, nobody wants to see USC have the chance to play their way into the playoff. Nobody wants to see Iowa have a chance to play their way into the playoff, right? Like, that's not something like you can kind of, you know, if you're the SEC or the Big Ten, say, well, we're always going to have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 teams that are in contention, and a bunch of them should be considered. Well, again, last year we had 3 SEC teams make the college football playoff, and one of them was Tennessee, who got obliterated in their one game, right? So, because that's a big part of it, is that there's going to kind of be this, like, I guess, like, if we have these auto bids, we expect that 4 of them would go to the SEC, 4 of them would go to the Big Ten, and then again, it would be 6, 7, 8 of these Big Ten and SEC teams that would technically have a chance in the last week of the season. So I think that it sort of becomes a situation where, again, like, I just don't think that these conferences are consistent enough. I don't think that there's enough quality for these conferences that they should be guaranteed spots for their 4th, 5th, or 6th place team. And so for me, I mean, that's just a non-starter. I think that ultimately we're going to end up at a 5+11 system. I think we're still going to have the committee. I think that that's not something that's going to change. But again, I mean, I think they're really going to have to try to think about the way that they handle these processes.
You should have been there, DJ. I mean, I'm disappointed that I didn't get Shehan's autograph because, my gosh, he was holding court every time I went to get a drink or something. This guy's a celebrity down there. Gee, knee. Everybody knew him. Everybody wanted to talk to him, shake his hand. I got in line, but I ran out of time.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I mentioned this to you down there, right? That I've been around the Big 12 for, since 2013, essentially. And at this point, I feel like I know pretty much everybody coming through. And I'll tell you what, it was a lot of fun to get to cover specifically BYU versus Texas Tech because of all the great relationships that I have at both those places. Obviously, with the staffs and all, but also with the media. BYU obviously has such a fun contingent, and Tech again I've known for a long time. So like this is I joked with my wife, man, like this is like the Shehan Bowl out there with the amount of people I know.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. It was good to see you. I've seen you before in person, but to see everybody that was wanting to talk to you, I laughed about it, but it was obviously that's your name and have the respect of everybody, and that's cool because I'm sure you worked to earn it. It just wasn't given to you, and I always appreciate people who work hard, and you're right there at the top. One of the things that, to me, this Notre Dame opting out, I put it on like, well, we need reform, right? We need change. We need improvement, and I don't want to speak for Notre Dame or speak for the young men, and they're all thinking, oh, great, forget it, we're out of here, this sucks, we're not going to play this game. There might be some people who want to play. But I think that if a team like Notre Dame, which has the stature and the power of just about anybody, can do this, then maybe that might cause some change. So could we see some positive come from it?
Well, there's two things that I'll say to that, right? One is, look, obviously, they certainly have the right to do what they want. I don't personally love that they kind of pulled out and canceled a bowl game. And by the way, I would have loved to see them play BYU. I would have loved that for both teams to have an opportunity to have a really high-quality game to prove themselves. But, so one, I certainly don't agree with their decision or love their decision. But the other piece of it is that if you're going to do this, then, you have to do this, and granted, I want to be careful with my words because obviously I work for, one of the broadcast networks technically, but if you're going to say that there was collusion or that they were campaigning against you, then sue. I don't know. Do the thing. If you're going to do the thing, don't just kind of sit here and be like, well, we were treated very unfairly and we're not going to participate. But by the way, when the playoff is on that same network next year, we're going to obviously be trying to make it, do it, I don't know. I think that's sort of what I want to see, and maybe we're going to hear more. Pete Pivakwa, the athletic director at Notre Dame, is holding a press conference. I believe it's later today, and maybe he'll talk about some of the steps that they're willing to take. But the other thing too that I want people to understand is that don't cry too hard for little old Notre Dame as well. We got word yesterday from Ross Sellinger at Yahoo Sports that apparently Notre Dame has signed a memorandum of understanding that heading forward, starting with the next system, if they are a top 12 team, they're essentially granted an auto bid. They're essentially granted the opportunity to be in, and they would push out an additional at-large team if they were top 12. So if that had existed this year, the last at-large team in the college football playoff would have been left out in favor of Notre Dame, and ironically, it would have been Miami. So there are plenty of ways as well that they managed to stack the system in their favor as well. And so, again, my thing at the end of the day is if they, I think, certainly have the power and the stature to make something happen. But if they're going to make something happen, they're going to have to really commit to it because just opting out of a bowl game and pouting isn't going to make that happen.
I know the Big 12 commissioner has said, we want to earn it on the field. But I don't see how the Big 12 is going to be able to earn it on the field because nobody seems to want to give it to them. With BYU, it was, if you want to get in, you'd better win this game. And then sure enough, they drop, and Alabama gets blown out in pretty much the same fashion, and they don't drop at all.
Didn't Tech earn it on the field?
Tech did, but BYU as an at-large was held to a different standard.
Sure.
And so I don't know how, if the standard is going to be all over the map, that just means there is no standard, and I think it's going to be a one-bid league. And I don't really see anything changing. Do you?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things, right? One is I think that not just with BYU, but with kind of everybody left, I think that, I spoke to Chase Roberts, the great wide receiver over there before the season. And, he said basically, we get it. Alabama built up their reputation over the course of multiple years. And I think that that's going to be the case with a lot of the teams and brands in the Big 12 as well. Like, I think that, Arizona State is treated differently because they won the Big 12 and took Texas to double overtime last year. I think that Texas Tech will be seen and treated differently after this year. And I think that that's coming for BYU as well. Now, I wish that it would happen sooner. I think that should have been earned over the course of winning, going 22-4 over the course of 2 years and being a top 15 caliber program both times. But I think that there are opportunities to continue to build brand. But the thing, sort of the existential issue with the Big 12 is that there isn't the implicit credibility brands in the conference. So, for example, back in the old iteration of the Big 12, Texas and Oklahoma were in the league. And frankly, it didn't really matter whether Texas or Oklahoma were all that good. If you beat them, it was considered a big deal. And that's, I think, the thing that the Big 12 is struggling with having to replace is that, if BYU beats the crap out of TCU, but TCU has a Longhorn on their helmet, I think people talk about that differently, even though the quality of the team might not be any different. So I think that we're at the early end of them starting to develop some of those brands. Again, I think Arizona State's going to be there. I think that Texas Tech is certainly going to be there after this year, when I also think they might make a deep run in the college football playoff. And I'll say this as well, is that, speaking specifically to BYU, I think that people are going to start to look at them a little bit differently after the way they held off Penn State and after the way that we've heard they're going to infuse some money into their roster. Again, it takes time. And again, does that help the 2026 Big 12? I don't know. But the hope is that it helps the 2029 Big 12.
Is what we saw out of Texas Tech going to become regular, giving all the resources that they have?
Yeah, so the thing that's going to be interesting is obviously we started to hear to certain extents, right, that teams are per se finding ways to promise money over the salary cap to coaches, right? And that's going to be sort of the big interesting thing, is how is that stuff handled? Now, some of it is obvious in terms of, corporate partnerships and sponsorships and things like that. But, again, like, this is one place where it's going to be really interesting, is that, like, I was talking actually, I think with your producer Jake Hatch over at Big 12 Championship. And, one thing that we talked about is, like, in some ways it's great to be a brand like BYU because, like, you have all these obvious partnerships that you already have. Well, it's going to be interesting at Texas Tech where, again, like, West Texas is all in on Texas Tech, but I do think that it makes it a little more complicated in terms of finding corporate partners that same way. But I do think that they're very forward thinking. That's what it is at the end of the day. They're going to find a way, I think, to be competitive. They're going to find a way to be at the top of their conference. And one thing that Joey McGuire, their coach, told me before the season is we feel like we have everything to sell at this place, that this is this perfect place, perfect resources, great coaching staff, and the only thing that we don't have to sell are trophies. And now they've got one, and I think that that's going to be a huge deal for anybody coming into that program.
Shehan Jeyarajah joining us, CBS Sports national college football writer. In basketball, it used to be that going to Maui was the best tournament you could possibly start the college basketball season at. But it's pivoted pretty quickly to this players thing in Vegas because they're giving NIL money. And it's gone from 6 teams to 18. Apparently it's going to 32. Do you think this is going to happen in football? Some city that's based, has a big tourist economy and has an NFL dome, Atlanta, Dallas, Las Vegas, L.A. You can run down a list of places. Do you think we're going to see that putting together big marquee season opening games and essentially paying the players? Because that's what's happening in college hoops. I can't believe that some AD who's got a college basketball team isn't going to think this is going to work for football. It would work for football, wouldn't it?
Well, and actually, I'll tell you that there is a version of this happening next year. Auburn decided to move their season opener against Baylor to Atlanta, and part of it is apparently outside NIL opportunities for their players. So this is a thing that is happening already that I think will slowly continue to happen. And we've had versions of this, with like sort of the Chick-fil-A kickoff type games and all this sort of stuff. I think this is a way to try to regain some relevance, I guess you'd say. But I also think that there's stuff in the nature of college basketball that's a little different than football, right? Like, at most, only a handful of teams can sacrifice one game over this, right? Like only one team, let's say, is going to Dublin, right? Like it's not necessarily something where, like you said, 32 teams are all of a sudden going to show up and, be able to bank on this one thing. Like, I just don't think that that's necessarily realistic with, frankly, the demands of playing football and holding a football game. But I mean, yeah, I do think that we're going to see maybe more of these kickoff type games that have direct, sort of player compensation aspects to them. And, for me, certainly, like, we've just gotten now to the point where finally Alabama's playing non-conference games on campuses. I think that's really cool. I really hope that we don't fully lose that in the name of money. And, and not to get on my separate soapbox, but, it is kind of disappointing, just big picture, how much of college athletics, or really athletics in general these days, is just business, right? Is just how can we maximize revenue? How can we maximize money? And it's almost like to a certain extent the actual sport sometimes takes a backseat to it. Because, again, you mentioned it, Maui was a really, really cool event, sort of a destination event. And, I'm curious if that sort of thing carries forward long term.
Well, having covered 4 Maui tournaments back in my newspaper days, I can tell you that was awesome. And to have a company credit card while you're there was even sweeter.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will say this, man. The fans out of Utah love to tell the rest of the Big 12 about going to Vegas. So at least this will solve that.
Yeah, there you go.
Sean, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shehan Jeyarajah, CBS Sports National College football writer. And along with Barry Trammell, do we have the 2 most popular media members in the are these the 2 guys everybody flocks to and they both come on our show?
Well,
I mean, you overstated the line a little bit, but the reason you overstated is because there were a lot of people talking to him.
There were. I saw him multiple times. Trammell is well known, too. He's a character.
Yeah.
I saw him at Big 12 Media Days. A lot of people talking to him. They know he's older. He's got that white hair.
Yeah, he's
funny as all get out.
He's got that drawl.
Yeah.
He can say the most cutting, biting stuff in the nicest way.
Right. And so
as we often hear on the show.
He stands out because of his longevity and the hair. I think it's probably been white for 30 years. And he's got a lot of stuff going for him. And obviously, if you're in the business that long, and he still goes to games. He just doesn't sit around. I mean, he's still out there. Shehan's a little on the younger side compared to Barry, but probably, I would think so.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
She bangs.
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. BYU beaten again, PK. What can the Cougars do? It looked pretty apparent. I was watching it in Utah on TV, and you were actually in the stadium. But it looked pretty apparent to me that the offense went pretty deep into the bag of tricks. 2 trick plays in the opening drive. The second one worked, 22-yard gain, set them up. So they score. And after that, they could not block them, and there was really nothing they were going to do about that. We just heard Chase Roberts talk about their front 4. You can put the linebackers in there. That group is so good at getting after the passer. It's unbelievable. And BYU really felt that. I thought to what Kalani said that we played earlier, it felt like a game because the defense kept them in it. But once the turnovers happen and the Texas Tech offense keeps running out there across midfield already, in scoring position, that's when the game was over. But it's not like BYU was driving and threatening. I mean, even the rest of the first half after that opening drive, they barely did anything.
Yeah, Texas Tech dominated again.
Yeah, but they can't block them. So what are you going to do?
And I think one of the things that Bear will improve on is escapability. I'm trying to recall plays where he extended plays. He moved around, slid left.
Well, he could barely move.
Went right. Yeah, he can barely move. Dampier couldn't play. I mean, if he can barely move, then get his ass out of the game. I mean, I'm sick of that.
Well, that's a fair point, but
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. If he can't play, get him out. You got
Most
other
of
guys.
his rushing yardage came on design runs between the hash marks, straight ahead.
Right.
Spread him out, let him break a tackle. But as far as him floating one way or
But he
floating
didn't really
another,
do
not a
that
lot
all
of that.
season.
No, it's not really how he's played the position.
Right.
But also we're talking about a true freshman, so how he plays the position can evolve over time.
I think it will.
Yeah.
I'm talking about right now this year against this team.
The problem with the rolling out against this team is that they have so many guys. A lot of times you roll them away from pressure. If the star pass rusher's on the left attacking you from the blind side, you roll right in your throw. But the problem is they attack from both sides. You roll out, you're just rolling into the pressure either way you go. On that fumble, when it's a play they run, and I know not everybody loves to play because the quarterback's got his back to everything, but it's meant to be deception because you can't see where he's handing the ball. They had 3 guys beat their blockers. That play, or any play, has no chance when 3 guys are getting beat.
I agree.
So the answer is better offensive linemen, more NFL guys. Now, you can say that, but the Utes have more NFL guys. They couldn't block them either.
Well, I think that Texas Tech was the dominant team. This is what I had feared all season and all off season and the stuff that I heard that they were doing. And I said that if we went from 25 to the year 2030, that because there may be some changes at that point, they will be in contention every single year. Now I'm thinking they darn well may win it every single year. I mean, they got this guy, Cody Campbell. When I got my sister in Phoenix asking me, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Via text, because she's watching the game. She's a sports fan. And both of them were watching it. My other sister isn't a big-time sports fan, but she loves college football because her husband is a massive Notre Dame fan, and they sit there all day Saturday and watch college football. And my other sister, it can tell you what the Diamondbacks need to do at the winter meetings, right?
Yeah.
And so you got that going on.
Which one has Cardinal tickets, or do they split them?
Oh, I don't know. My older sister hasn't. I don't even ever know she's ever been to a Cardinal game. They're both older than me, but the older of the two. They're several years older than me. They've all been retired now for a number of years. She's asking me, who is what is this guy about? And I'm telling her, and she gets it. It's not an excuse. It's just a reality of the situation that they have more money. They spent more money. That was the big deal for Kalani being able to get this extension and all this, because it wasn't about what he was looking for. It was about for the team. So she texts me at 8 o'clock, so long after the game, Saturday. So they named the field after Cody Campbell? I said, yep.
That tells you something.
Right. She said they mentioned it. I had others tell me that they felt, and that's more, she's neutral as far as, she was rooting for BYU to win in the way I root for the Cardinals to win. It makes no difference to me, but she knows it will help. It will be better for our business to have them going to the playoff, blah, blah, blah. So she gets all that, right? She was the one who saw me at the Suns game when they were playing the Jazz, saw the president of the company get up, and she saw me get up and go try to meet him on the concourse. And so she figured something was up, and she went up and put 2 and 2 together, and then stood in front of Steve Starks and just bragged on how awesome I am as a human being. So she got street smarts. Whatever I got, she's got it way more. And so she understands why we were wanting BYU to win. And she said, well, they sort of mentioned that on the broadcast. Now, I've had other BYU people since I've been home tell me they didn't mention the Cody Campbell angle enough, that this is the reason. One person said to me, yeah, they kept talking about how last year's defense was awful. And if you look at the numbers, it was. Yeah. And how this year's defense is much better. And this person said to me, well, they made it sound like, they just worked harder. Well, no.
Yeah, they did. They worked harder at spending money on better players.
I mean, they went and bought themselves a defense. They had 6 guys that this is it. Their next game losing, or if they go all the way, that's it. They cannot finagle another year out of the NCAA like so many have tried. They don't decide if you played Wyoming high school ball, that doesn't count or something. Seems like they're coming up with all these different rules, right? So this is what they did. And BYU told me that their defensive line is almost making as much money as all of BYU's team. That's the reality of the situation. I don't want to hear that Bear had a sprained ankle. It's fine. And Dampier wasn't good enough. He was hurt. Put in somebody else then. If they don't play the guy and then tell me he's hurt.
Well, he got injured during this
game. Then take him out during the game.
Take him out during the game.
But your original premise was you said, why wasn't he moving? Well, he could barely move, period. So I'm with you. Why didn't you try something different?
He didn't really move all season, though.
It's not his game. Not yet.
And I don't know that moving against this team the way it's constructed would have mattered.
It's not going to work.
Because they're rushing off both edges and you're just going to roll into the pressure.
They're just simply better.
There it is.
Yeah, their defensive line's
$7
$7 million.
They're richer and better.
Yeah.
And it showed. They beat you 63-14.
Over 2 games, combined score.
I mean,
it's not a fluke.
Right. I agree with what Kalani was saying. He went right, and we were both sitting. I was sitting right next to Jake. The post game. Hey, this is the best team in the country. We had to play them twice. You'll see, and I think we will see. They're not going to go down. I would be shocked. I don't know if they're going to win it because one game, the ball can get slippery, get tipped at the line of scrimmage. Anything can happen.
Indiana is also the real deal, and they're set up to meet in a semi. They're both going to get a bye. They both have to win one game to get there.
Right.
Oregon, presumably, for Texas Tech. 4 versus 5, because 5 plays 12.
And they get a bye into the semis, right?
Right. No, they get a bye into the quarters. So in the first round, Oregon, the 5 seed, is going to play the 12 seed, who's James Madison, in Eugene. Oregon ought to roll.
Oh, yeah.
So then Oregon, as the 5, should play the 4, Texas Tech, in Miami in the Orange Bowl.
And I think they're going to have a lot of success. They're just really good. This was my fear all off season, that this was going to happen. And it's happened. It's unfortunate for BYU.
As much as it sucks for the rest of the league to look up and see, they got all that money, how are we going to compete?
And Kyle talked about this.
To Shehan's point, though, they need a big brand name, so when you beat them, it really matters. Now, hopefully that's the way it evolves. Shehan used the example of, well, Utah, BYU throttled TCU, right? And if TCU had the Longhorn on the helmet, they might have been about the same team, but one's got one logo and one's got another. Well, TCU was just in the national title game 3 years ago now, right?
How often they got destroyed?
How often? Yeah, okay, but they also beat Michigan in the semi, and Michigan's still treated like a big deal. That's my point.
Because it's not about any single year.
It doesn't matter. Maybe Tech can do it if they win 5 in a row. But
do what? I mean, what do they need?
Build a brand so if the rest of the league can beat you.
But they're not going to beat them. Who cares if you have the brand and I can't beat you?
So then they'll just
Utah had the brand.
They'll be the Big 12
basketball.
rep. They'll just be the Big 12 rep every year.
If they earn it,
fill out our preseason polls now for 2029. Even though we don't know.
But Jairus used to say, what do I care about the WAC for? What does the WAC do for me? What do I care if these teams do well? I don't care.
Well, he was getting 2 and 3 seeds, so he didn't.
Right.
He had pretty much everything he was going to get.
So I don't know that having Texas Tech, it's great for your mark, but what difference does it make to BYU and Utah?
Well, if they can't beat them, then it won't. I mean, the theory is Tech will have a good rep and that you'll beat them, and then you'll benefit from that.
No, I don't.
That was why I asked the question.
But I don't see it. Who has a good rep and you beat them that gives you a better rep?
Well, Indiana beating Oregon.
Well, they don't need a rep. They qualified. Their rep is irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
But he gave him a better rep.
But it doesn't matter. You don't get anything for it. They got the 1 seed. What rep? You going to get? What you can't get any higher than that.
So then, okay, well, by then they beat Ohio State also.
But Alabama beating Georgia, that's what I'm talking about. Alabama gets the benefit because they already got the rep.
Ole Miss beating LSU and Oklahoma because Ole Miss has no rep. But they're in.
Lane Kiffin has a rep, which is why he went to LSU. Yeah. Ole Miss don't have no rep no more, to quote Eric Trainer or Mainer's mother. So Kiffin was the reason. Everything was about Kiffin with LSU. Who are their players? I can name you their quarterback, Trinidad, because he's the only guy named Trinidad in college football. Other than that, nobody knows who they are. And Dart, because he was local. And we followed him. Saw him play in high school. Think he's going to be a really good NFL quarterback. And so I don't think Ole Miss has any rep. Kiffin has the rep, which is why Ole Miss lost him.
But Ole Miss needed quality wins this year to get in, and they won those games. Now you can argue it is because Lane Kiffin's a genius offensive play caller. And you're right. I expect that.
But that doesn't do anything for Ole Miss.
Not permanently. Not once you lose the coach. No, you need someone like Kyle to stay 20 years or Kalani to stay a decade. And that face has to be there.
And then he has to be media-friendly savvy.
Mm-hmm.
So every media person, man, woman, loves the man.
Yeah.
And he has to say, wow, nice leather pants and stuff. And then we all remember that. And she's thinking, I mean, we're all human beings here. Who doesn't like a compliment? Right? So, sure, it takes so dang long. I think BYU, though, is a big enough of a brand if they can do it. But the problem is right now, the lasting rep for BYU is they're not even competitive against Tech. That's all the committee. He brought it up. That is what they took away. What's his name?
There's no.
Hunter Yurachek.
Yeah, he brought it up again yesterday. He's brought it up twice now.
Yeah. There's no real benefit for the 11 wins. The 11 wins are forgotten. What's remembered
you're not competitive with Texas Tech.
Tech handling BYU
that's all
twice.
That, from the national perspective,
yes.
That's all that, and that sucks.
Yep.
But that's the reality of it. The 22-3 and now 22-2 when they don't play a top-ranked team. It doesn't even really matter.
Beating Utah hasn't paid off, and Utah's been to 2 Rose Bowls. 4 conference title games, but it doesn't matter.
I think it pays off in recruiting locally, but we're talking nationally,
right?
And I think we've seen it. BYU's recruiting has grown substantially, and they got the cash too. We're going to talk about Texas Tech's cash. We got to talk about BYU's cash, and maybe that's what it's going to be. Maybe that they're going to have to buy their way into being able to get a rep and buy their way into being able to be competitive against Tech on the field.
I don't think there's any maybe about that.
I was going to say that's why
you can't You're not going to outsmart them. You're not going to outthink them. They're smart and they're thinking with money.
Right.
Now, if somebody has money but they're not smart and they're not thinking, then you can beat that.
Just because you don't have money, you have money doesn't all of a sudden mean the doors of the country are going to open for BYU in the way it has done for Texas Tech.
Right. They assessed the talent and they got it right, and that's why they're borderline unblockable.
Right. But for BYU, it's different because you're still going to have to come to a predominantly white community, a predominantly white school. It's going to take a young man, and there are more of them, and I will go to my grave insisting that, and to say otherwise I think is wrong, that the young black kid and his families, they're far more sophisticated to know this is an outstanding situation for me, and I'm actually going to benefit greatly. And like we said with Debonsa coming to BYU sends a message to the NBA, hey, I am serious about this. I'm not going to be a knucklehead. I'm not going to be out at the clubs at 2 in the morning because I went to BYU, and everybody knows they ain't got any clubs. They don't have any clubs at 8 o'clock in the evening. And so by coming to BYU, you're going to send a message. I'm serious about being the very best that I can be. And if you come to me, you know you're getting a high-quality person, too. DeBonsa, the more I think about it, and the money was there, but the money was going to be anywhere. But DeBonsa coming here, he's sending a powerful message to the NBA. I'm all about ball.
That's true. And I think that also it's asking people to make a commitment for 1 or 2 years is different than asking to make it for 4. So how many of these top-line players are going to be coming in as freshmen, and how many are going to be coming in as juniors and seniors in the transfer portal?
Okay, but you're assuming that DeBonsa then, if he would have stayed 3 or 4 years, he'd be out doing all these. I'm not going to assume that.
No. I think that it's a bigger ask for someone to come. He might well have come if he stayed 4 years. We'll never know because he's clearly a one-year guy. I'm talking about with all these football players, some of them are going to come for 4. I mean, Kalani's made it clear he doesn't want a purely transfer portal team. They tried that, and they didn't think it worked very well. So I don't think they're going to go down that road again. I think it's always going to be a mix of 1, 2, and 4 years, and those are different commitments. And that may open up some people to doing stuff. I mean, we always talk about people, you're different at 21 than you are at 18. You just are. And you may value stuff differently. But they still got to land 18-year-olds. It's not going to be a total transfer portal team.
No, they have.
And Tech had a heavy transfer portal team this year. And the guys they're bringing in now, they're bringing in a bunch of 4 and 5 stars who are going to be freshmen.
And the good news...
And maybe they'll be ready to win right away, but maybe not.
Well, they can play, they'll grow, and they'll get better. You want a developmental program. At your core, you always want a developmental program, which is why I think the Utes will always be good.
But that may make Tech more vulnerable going forward also.
It could, and I think also, too, that the amount of quality Latter-day Saint talent seems to me, I don't have numbers, but it seems to me it grows every year.
It does seem to be on the rise, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. Over the course of our 30-plus years here, the number of recruits is just off the charts.
Right.
It's night and day. There used to be 10 guys who could play in the state, and now there's 30, 40, or 50.
Not just the state, but largely.
But also, you're right, as far as hitting up Arizona, California, wherever.
Yeah, where there's large segments.
Yeah, Idaho.
Population basis.
Not as many people in Idaho, but some really good players out of Idaho.
Yeah, so I don't want to paint a picture that it's so gloom and doom, because I don't think it is. I certainly don't think it is for any of the 3 that we cover extensively in this state. I actually think they have an opportunity to be competitive and then see what happens. But they've got to find a way to close the gap right now, as do all the schools in the Big 12. All other 15 have got to find a way to compete with these guys.
DJ and PK, our weekend failure. Next, stay with us.
Whirls around and down.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone is your exclusive home of the Utah Jazz. And we want to send you to the Delta Center to see the Jazz in action. Listen every Tuesday for the Jazz Ticket Tuesday Sounder at 30 past the hour, every hour, all day long. And if you're caller number 12, you'll be on your way to an upcoming game.
Buy one, you'll get one free.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, every Tuesday throughout the NBA season on your radio home for the Utah Jazz. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer's strong play of the weekend.
At the 5, it's Puka again! On one play, a 31-yard strike. Puka Nacua with a new career high in touchdowns.
Puka Nacua. He's got the Chevy strong play of the game. He had 7 catches, 167 yards, 2 scores. He ran wild. Rams beat the Cardinals 45-17. Know that Puka play? Today after 3 o'clock, JJ and Alex will call for it, and you can win fabulous prizes. Our locks of the week were unlocked, PK. Baker Mayfield, thanks for nothing.
He's the reason they lost.
Yes, I blame him personally. No. The Bucks have actually been struggling, and I thought the Saints would cure what ails them, but that is now, 2-5 in their last 7. So it's been a struggle.
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with that for me. I didn't think that much into it. No, I'm trying to catch Yawk, and so I couldn't go with what he went.
Yeah, so you had to go to a different game.
Right.
And now we're farther behind.
Right. So that's the only reason why I picked them.
Hey, the Raiders tried to make it hard.
He's got the lead, and picking the same as him
doesn't do you any good.
Right.
I know.
So that's the only reason why I went with the Bucks. Not that I felt like there's some super team.
I took the Broncos over the Raiders the first time they played, so I couldn't take them the second time.
And now, as it stands, it is a 2-game lead.
Oh yeah, you're
with 4 weeks to go.
Right. I mean, in another week or two, you can clinch. In fact, if I were you, I'd then opt out.
I'm out. No more picks.
Right. So then you don't have to worry about getting loose. No, it's like match playing golf. You know.
Yeah, it is.
Conceded. Yeah.
There's not enough holes for me to overtake you, so we stop the match.
We're gonna concede the match with 3-2.
You're gonna be the Double Crown winner, and good for you.
Take the title.
Yeah. No, I'll get one of my kids' old Sandy City soccer trophies and bring it in.
You got another one of those? Sweet.
Oh, probably. There's about 100 of them.
I think we've got literally. I'm looking at the one that we brought in all those years ago. It's literally right there. I can even hand that over to you. It's yours.
I got
that was
stuff,
for
thanks.
the city something or other.
The City
we kept
Weekly.
winning that award. Have you won that anymore?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Just what I said.
Well, you're on the freaking cover. They're smiling in a goofy.
I haven't been on a cover.
So you knew then.
Well, yeah, because he called me in and said be on the cover.
You could have said no. I'm not going to humiliate myself like that.
Nope. If Brad Rock's in, I'm in. I go where the rock monster goes.
Way to pawn it off.
When we come back, the Utah Jazz hit a new low. Their losses, their defeats, their routs, their annihilations, and then there's whatever that was. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.